All right, what is happening, my fellow pirates? This is Matt Welsh, Be Love and Be You, back with the weekly meeting for Pirate Chain. It is Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. Today's topic, following our market update, is going to be behind-the-scenes recap of Bitcoin Miami Week. So this is an exciting call. I was personally there, so I have a lot to share about that, in addition to what's going on in the markets. So let's go ahead and start with that. And if you guys are new here, you are welcome to follow along on the screen share at befree.tv. You just type in that domain name. It takes you to a live webinar platform. It's not Zoom, it's live webinar. So there's no account creation required. It works on any device. So if you want to check out the market update, I recommend it at befree.tv, as we're still figuring out how to screen share here on Discord. That is coming soon. All right, so today I feel a little bit more prepared. I've got all of the charts up and ready to go. I've got the screen actually recording this time. So we're going to kick things off. I always like to start with the Crypto Fear and Greed Index. Something I recommend. You don't have to be a trader. You don't have to be an expert at studying markets. Just put in 15 to 20 minutes a day going through these tabs that I show you guys, or just tune into this weekly stream. And within 3 to 6 months, you're going to know the charts and you're going to understand how markets work better than anyone you probably know. So one of the first tabs that I pull up, and I create a bookmarks tab in my browser so I can just click and open them all at once very quickly. The Fear and Greed Index has us at 25 out of 100 today. Yesterday it was at 20, so there's a little less fear in the market, and I'll explain why that is as we dig into the charts. Last week we were more at a neutral pace at 48, almost halfway there. And last month we were at 23. So we're pretty close now to where we were last month, which kind of contributes to the indecision and stagnation and consolidation that's been going in the market for some time, which I believe has a lot to do with the war in Russia, has a lot to do with the Fed raising interest rates finally, has a lot to do with well, mostly that, because that affects all of the markets. So we'll get into it. The stock markets are definitely being affected by that as the smart money pulls out of risk-on assets. All right, so one trick you can do is on the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, you can, on the chart, you can look at 7 days, a month, 3 months, a year, or you can max it out way back to 2018. So we got about 4 years worth of data. And right now, judging by this data, we are at a place here where usually, I mean, it could go a little bit lower, the fear, but usually we'd be bouncing from this point. However, it looks like that bounce already happened in the last 2 weeks. It bounced up, it got rejected around 50, 55, it looks like, 56, and now we're back down to 25. So the fear has entered the market. Fear is not real, it's false evidence appearing real. All this is unemotional, unbiased data that we're looking at to protect our investments. Next off, I'd like to start off with Coingecko.com. I prefer this over CoinMarketCap, a little bit more accurate data. So we have the altcoins have moved up a little bit. Just after Bitcoin was under 40K, Ethereum was under 3K. So we're seeing some movement in the charts. We're going to head on over to Pirate Chain specifically, check out some stats there. We're at about $1.95 per Pirate Chain. Still the deal of a lifetime. Anything under $2 is just it's in a long-term macro like hodl type of mindset is the future. So if you bought anywhere at $2 or below or somewhere around there, that's great for the long term. Let's see. I'm looking at, this is just a rough chart on CoinGecko, but it looks like we might be forming what's called a rising wedge pattern. That's where price kind of goes up in a diagonal pattern, and that usually breaks to the downside. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Pirate, come back down to maybe test this $1.80 level, maybe $1.70. I'm not sure. It depends if we can get above this resistance here at where we're at $1.96. So that's cool. There's tons of great stats here. You can check out the total market cap, which is still under 400 million. That's insane. basically, I mean, that's a lot of money, but it's really not compared to all of the other coins in the game. So for Pirate to be at $2 with just that amount of capital in the market cap it's pretty bullish on how high this price can go over time. Trading volume under $1 million, pretty solid. Yeah, cool. So as it stands today, Pirate is still up over 24,000%. That was about a year worth of data. So a year from now, it's come up 24,000%. That's or no, actually that's from 2020. So yeah, that's still pretty crazy. Anyway, let's move on from there. I'm gonna close out of these tabs and let's dig into some charts. All right. So today I actually copied this chart, so I'm going to be able to do some drawings in it. This is a weekly chart, so from now on, I think it's good to start with the macro time tables here, and then kind of work our way zooming in to really see what's going on. So we're going to start with the big picture. We're going to work our way to a small picture. And the reason, if you guys are new here, the reason I look at Bitcoin is because it's like the moon. It controls the rise and the tide of the entire crypto space. So, you can't really... It's silly at this time to be super bullish or bearish on Pirate while having no idea what Bitcoin's doing. You just can't. You can't do that. It's kind of irresponsible. So we have to look at Bitcoin. So right now on this weekly chart, we just got rejected by a couple significant moving averages, being looks like the 200 weekly moving average and oh wait, no, that's not them. Does it tell me? It looks like the 50 week and the 21 week. That's right. So we just got rejected by those. Typically, if you were under the 21 week moving average, which we are, we got rejected by it. You are in a bear market. Okay, so this is the second time we're under this moving average in this cycle here. That's not bullish at all, in my opinion. And looking at the, if you check out the stochastic RSI, zooming in here, you can see that we just had a pretty confirmed cross. Okay, so the buying has crossed. Now the selling is taken over, and this could just continue to trend down quite a bit. The last time it got to the bottom of this, looks like 18, 20-ish level, Bitcoin was at, well, it was at the same price it is now. So if we're looking at, basically we're at the same price now, but we have the same room to go in terms of the selling that could be ahead. Not really the best sign. And then you've got these, this here is the 200 weekly moving average and the 300 weekly. Now those are your prime targets for the ultimate support in any crash, capitulation, or bear market. And I mean, let's be real, we're really not that far from those. We're really not far from testing those. So the market, it's going to come to a decision here in the next, well, probably between now and May. But, the next 3 months are definitely going to be very telling for if we have a shiny Christmas here by the end of the year, or if we're due for some time in the trenches. Okay, so there's one pattern playing out that you guys may have heard of, and I'm not the only trader or analyst that has noticed it. There's been quite a few ones that I look up to that have had just excellent analysis over the years. They're calling for the same thing, and that is a bear flag, like a massive bear flag that could be playing out here. We've got the weekly chart open, so I'm going to start drawing some lines so you guys can see what I'm talking about here. Let's see, it's not very thick, but let me make that bigger. All right, so this yellow line is basically the flagpole. And you can see how the price has been riding down, up, down, riding down this line. Finally found support, like right there. And let's see if I can draw another line. The bear flag usually continues up like this from the flagpole. Then what you're going to see, copy that line, the breakdown, wherever the point of break is, basically in that range. So if this bear flag were to play out, that would put Bitcoin definitely under $20,000. And that is a target that I personally think is inevitable. I really didn't think it would be coming this soon. I figured we'd have a little more upside for Bitcoin, maybe to like 55K, and then the altcoins would go ballistic for like 30 days, and then, all right, we're in a bear market. But this could be playing out sooner than later. So definitely keep an eye on this. This is not the time where I would be going all in on crypto. I wouldn't be, maybe dollar cost averaging on the way down, but we got to see what Bitcoin's about to do here between, now and basically the summer solstice. Okay, so I just wanted to show you guys that. Got to keep this on our radar. We're going to move on to another chart. All right, this is, well, that's the same chart. Okay, this one here is a daily chart. So now we're zooming in just a little bit more. We're going from the weekly to the daily. And it's really telling the same story. You can kind of zoom in on this cross that's coming up between the 21-week and the 50-week. This is what some traders are calling they're looking at a 3-day death cross. The last time that happened, it pushed Bitcoin from around 6K to 3,000 during the bear market of 2018. Okay, so this same exact thing is playing out again, which, if it can cut Bitcoin in half, then it could sure do it again from like 40K to 20K. So I'm not trying to get all bearish on you guys here, but, the charts don't lie. We're just looking at data. It's unemotional, unbiased. Obviously, pirate chain to the moon, Monero to the moon, privacy for freedom. But, if I'm being real, especially after spending my time in Miami, at like the biggest Bitcoin conferences in the world, the privacy boom it's not going to be in this market cycle. Okay, the fundamentals are absolutely there. We're early, and that's just a reality that we have to face and really consider from a strategic investing standpoint. Okay, I think there's a lot of hype behind the privacy coins within the privacy movement, and therefore there's some serious gains to be had. The reality is you might make more money buying some other altcoins or some dumb shit coins that have more hype and more marketing and all kinds of stuff, and people that don't really care about the fundamentals of human freedom and avoiding tyranny. So yes, that's the daily chart. It's just telling the same story on a closer time frame. We're going to zoom in a little bit more to this daily chart. We can really see the Fibonacci rings here. So you've got the point, I think it's a 0.682, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. No, 0.382 maybe. I don't know. It's hard to see this thing. But this chart is it's awesome. I mean, doesn't it just show that I have the best charts in the game? Like this guy, Steve, Optical Art Crypto, he just be like, killing the game. So this fib ring, we have found support on it barely here back in January 24th. We totally touched to the tick on February 25th. And we just touched it again. Like we're literally bouncing off of it now. The more that price plays with any support or resistance level, the more likely it is to break it. So keep that in mind. I mean, we're touching this the third time. I don't think it's going to be like a huge shot up from here. Could be wrong. Anything could happen, but I think we're gonna get rejected somewhere here before we even get to this moving average, and just keep playing with this fib ring, which is definitely I would err on the side of caution, because breaking under this ring, look at the next target. I mean, there it is. That's the fucking 300 weekly moving average, and then you've got the next ring down is literally 13K for Bitcoin. So we're definitely playing with fire here. I mean, I think we're about reaching the point of indecision where something has to give. Like in the medium term of like 3 months, something has to give. Okay, moving on. This is another daily chart. Now we're looking at some patterns, some trend lines of what's going on. You can see there's a lot going on here. I mean, you've got these trend lines going down. You've got this whole pattern. I mean, there's just trend lines everywhere and fib lines. So this is a lot to break through. It's possible if we got above this here, we could, go up and start playing with the 44K range. But I really don't see us getting above that. this is a lot of resistance. Like, we might touch it and get pent up here, and then all of this might push the price down. It could go the other way, but these rings, these Fibonacci rings, are known as pivot rings. Usually, when you approach a pivot ring, when you cross it, either before you cross it or after you cross it, there's a big move in price action, up or down. Okay, so moving on to the next chart. All right, it's another daily chart. All right, so this really also puts it in perspective. We could just be bouncing between this ring and this trend line here, right? So, I mean, the highest it could go, it's looking like Bitcoin is 47,120. Then there's that target way above at 55K that I was, bringing up as like I'm kind of seeing Bitcoin going that high, but I really don't see Bitcoin going higher than that. If we are in a bear market and this was a macro double top scenario, I mean, Bitcoin could go as high as, the top that was 69K, but I mean, there's just so much resistance up here. It really doesn't have to. And, the smart money and the VCs and the whales, they could all pull their bags literally like at 55K, and that would be awesome for everyone. Sometimes taking profits a little early, even though it could go up to 69K, is a smarter move. And you tend to see that at the top of bull markets is people start pulling their bags like even early. Price might go up a bunch more, but hey, that's an indicator in itself that price could be topping out. Okay, let's get to some tighter time frames. Zoom in a little bit. This is BTC Tether perpetual contracts. Okay, so that's good to look at as well. And you can see we're just under this massive, what was once support is now resistance. Bitcoin gets above, like, say 42K. I mean, that's going to be a little bullish for more upside, but this is a chart to keep an eye on. Here we've got the 2-hour chart. Now we're getting fancy. Okay, you can see, like, we, if you entered a long around, say, 39K, that would have been a smart move. You can see price kind of pushed up here, came right back down. That happens a lot. And what these are bots and, basically liquidation bots that, they know people are going to go along here. So they basically trigger the market, a bunch of shitload of selling to bring price back down to where those people got in and stop them out. So they either break even or lose money. So a lot of times you'll get a second chance to enter along in the same exact scenario, like after price drops to a support level. And here it did. It pushed up to just under 42K. And, unless we get above this, probably just going to range between 40K and 41K for the next week. Probably won't be too much of anything going on in that regard this next week. Look at another chart, Coinbase. This is US dollar versus Bitcoin. Same deal. We're now under this Fibonacci ring, this Fib circle, and we're under this trend line. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if price came back down to test this 40K level at least, and prove these rings right. Maybe like later in the week. Okay, now we're looking at a 3-hour chart. Same deal, but this kind of shows the resistance above. See this white trend line that we've been following down since basically this big move up here. We got all the way up to 48K. It's impressive. Again, this was a rising wedge here, and it broke to the upside. So it doesn't always have to break to the downside. But something happened here. It pushed up. Bam, we're at 48K, and then we've just been going down ever since. So now we're against this resistance trend line. We're going to have to see if we get above that. It's looking like we'll know here within the next this coming week, probably by next Monday when the market's open. Okay, so that's what I got for the Bitcoin charts. We're going to look at the dollar, which has just been ragingly bullish, hitting like close to $1, like 100 cents. Right now it's just under that. So, I mean, damn, this just is so telling of like the state of the world. I mean, people are getting out of risk-on assets and they're getting into dollars more and more. And if history repeats itself, historically in a bear market, you'll see an 82.5, 83% correction for Bitcoin from the all-time high. And so far, I mean, we've seen a lot of that already play out. So we just have a little more to go, which puts us at about that 11,000 to 14K price level where there's massive price action history and support. So that would definitely be a spot to go long on Bitcoin down the road. But you can see how the dollar just keeps going up, dollar up, Bitcoin down. It's playing out. I mean, the charts don't lie. I mean, I couldn't make this up if I tried. I'm just here to bring you the best charts in the game, and to help you make an educated decision. Okay, so now we're pulling up the Dow Jones. The guy that made these charts he's bearish, obviously, on all markets, but he's basically saying Dow could push up to about 35,000 points here. Could happen. I could see it just riding up this fib channel, and then this fib ring would probably just push it down, and you'd be looking at the end of the year, like, if not sooner, like some pretty significant price action going down in the Dow Jones. I brought this up on a previous stream, but you can see these red Fibonacci rings where the price, as soon as it crossed that pivot ring, it just totally capitulated. Like, I mean, insane, heinous, tens of percents gone in a day or days. So that could definitely happen again with the Dow. I mean, we just crossed that pivot ring up here. Now we're riding down it, so we're basically at that dropping point where this, if it does get rejected here, it could just shit the bed. And then we going down. All right. If the Dow Jones goes down or the S&P, that is super bearish for crypto. I mean, they'll correct, but crypto is going to correct harder, historically speaking. Okay, because crypto is just, it is. It's just way more risky, way more volatile. People will be, freaking out and selling their shit and selling crypto to cover their losses in stocks. Just a whole crazy thing. So that's why it's important to have these charts up, to at least look at them once a week. S&P is kind of following the same thing. We just crossed this pivot ring, got a little pump up, then we got rejected by this trend line, which historically has had a lot of history. At least the past 2 years, it's just bounced on and off it, found support, now it broke under it, and it's finding resistance for the second time. So yeah, that's looking a lot like the Dow. Could be going down. And then always an interesting chart to pull up. I'm going to start bringing this to the weekly calls, but this is the Bitcoin dominance chart. You can see this red trend line where Bitcoin dominance was at an all-time low here in 2018. That was basically the top of Bitcoin, around 20K. This was the top here, and then, where was it? Oh, the top was somewhere here. Yeah, December 8th, 2017, somewhere around there, and then it just crashed down. Found support on this line. What did you see? You saw all of the money flow into altcoins and stable coins. Okay, so I'm predicting the same thing to happen again. We are dangerously close to that same level. All right, like we're at the point now where it's like all it takes is a move down here. This is in percent, so like a 10% move down, and we're at that same level. We're like, okay, the all-time high is in, and now the money flows into altcoins and stable coins for one last pump over 30 days. Then that's it for a couple years, while the price just painstakingly, slowly makes its way down to an 80% correction. Okay, so good chart to keep an eye on. This just kind of shows that money is already starting to flow out of Bitcoin into some of these altcoins. Okay, when that drop comes for Bitcoin, I wouldn't be surprised to see the altcoins take a shit too. Like they're not gonna start pumping instantly if history repeats itself until like Bitcoin kind of hits that low, and then they'll start pumping. So that would be the point where I went all in. Would be like when Bitcoin dominance is basically at this level again, and it's had a pretty hard crash, and the altcoins have dropped a little bit. That's when I would start buying more Pirate Chain, Monero, the whole deal. All right. Before we get into today's topic of recapping Bitcoin Miami week, just want to give a shout out to Benny. He's been crushing the Daily Dose Pirate Chain. This is the YouTube channel, and just search Daily Dose Pirate Chain. There's 500 subscribers, which is fantastic. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel when you get a chance. I mean, even this last video that was posted today was just, it was so cool. I mean, this guy, Milton Friedman, was basically calling for the creation of Pirate Chain. I don't even know when this was, but it looks freaking ancient. Maybe from the 80s or some shit. But it's just a little clip, you know, just kind of keeps you excited about the market, you know, people talking about Pirate Chain, you know, just more bullish news about it, updates. So subscribe there when you get a chance. And of course, this show is brought to you by Acorn Labz. We are trying to get this channel up to 100 subscribers so we can lock in a username. So if you guys have a chance, go ahead and search Acorn Labz with a Z on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe. Check out the content there. And speaking of which, we do have a documentary that's premiering, I think, in just a couple days. Yeah, April 15th. So, yeah, before I get into the updates here with the Bitcoin in Miami, let's go ahead and play this trailer for 45 seconds, and then we'll take a little breather. If anybody has any questions or ideas, anything they want to share, just remember, keep that in mind, write it down. At the end of this call, we're going to open up the chat so we can get some pirates on, you know, to get the conversation going. So yeah, check it out.
Now you see, when your identity is defined by society, you cannot resist it. You don't have the knowledge, you don't have the wisdom, you don't have the resources to understand that something's being put over on you. You cannot but help believe the definition of you as a free agent.
Financial slavery is a bitch because it doesn't let you think. And that's the whole point. Don't give you time to think. If you want to really learn philosophy, you need leisure. Leisure. Crypto is here to give you the leisure so you can think.
All right, so if you guys didn't see the video, but you heard it, I mean, that's basically reveals some of the stories behind Julian Assange, Ross Ulbricht, just the heinous crime against them. You know, it's not like they killed anyone. They just created technologies that went against the system, and now they're behind bars and being tortured. So that's just a scary thought. We're very blessed to be where we are, you know, to be a part of Pirate Chain, to help the adoption, to help tech grow. You know, that is, in my opinion, the only way forward for humanity. It's not going to be let's you know, attack, let's go to war, let's, you know, fight physically. It's going to be like, just build the technologies for the new future. You know, be ahead of CERN, be ahead of the CIA, and be ahead of all these, you know, organizations that, you know, think they have humanity by the balls, and just build better, more efficient technologies that the free market's gonna be like, duh, like, of course I'm gonna use this instead of that shit, you know? And we're doing it. So we're blessed to be doing that. And without further ado, let's dive into this last week in Miami. So we're going to start with Bitcoin 2022. This is the premier event. This year they had, you know, around about 30,000 attendees, which was about 10,000 more than last year. The ticket prices were, in my opinion, very high. But when it comes to throwing events, you know, $1,000 a ticket is kind of what you need to get, you know, speakers like this. You know, you just had a lot of like celebrities, like athletes, musicians, comedians. It was a mixed bag of things. It wasn't just, you know, folks involved in blockchain. You know, let's see, Peter Thiel, I think is how you say his name. He kind of had one of the highlights during the event. Like, his talk was, I definitely heard about the most, because it was just a very bullish take on why crypto is important, why Bitcoin's important, where it's all going. This is not just an event for Bitcoin maximalists. There were obviously lots of them there that I noticed. But what's happened, it's been explosive. There's all these different events that have just branched off of this one event. So this time of year, you can expect from next year. There's going to be all these events to choose from. You don't just have to go to Bitcoin 2022. A lot of people were kind of picking and choosing. They go to this event, then come out to a different one. And I only expect that to keep growing as the market obviously, sees that there is just as much, if not more, opportunity in the altcoin space. Okay, so I'm just kind of scrolling through the speaker list. Michael Saylor was there, the guy that came out of nowhere and is now like the face of Bitcoin. I was just like going on YouTube. It's like every clickbait graphic has like this dude's face on it. It's just hilarious to me because I'm like, who is this guy? It's like, I don't know, just because you're rich and successful, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, Bitcoin. And it's like everyone like chills the shit out of you. It's kind of funny. Lynn Alden does a lot of great work on YouTube. Financial analyst. Jimmy Song was there. He's obviously a big voice in the Bitcoin community. Pretty sure he's pro BTC, small blocker. Let's see. Jordan Peterson. That was So if you had to learn that you had to make your bed every morning and brush your teeth and stuff like that, then you had that kind of coaching support there. I wish I could see this talk because I'm like curious at all what he said about crypto and Bitcoin because I have no idea where he stands on that. Joe Jorgensen, I don't know, I've seen her around. I think she was at Freedom Fest. I think she was one of the main speakers there at this last one. Kathy Wood, founder and CEO of ARRR. I mean, these are just huge names. Pomp was there. I was really stoked to see JP Sears was in the house. That was really cool. I think he was definitely speaking about Bitcoin because he's part of this big Bitcoin project. The name escapes me. It's pretty neat, though, the idea of it. They're like building a decentralized internet and ecosystem on the Bitcoin protocol. Let's see. I'm going to get to my personal experience in a bit. If you guys haven't checked this out, I mean, it's kind of good to see like the faces that were involved. You probably recognize some of these guys. Oh, Bill Barheit. I think he had something to do with Zcash back in the day and helping bring that to life. Obviously, it's listed on ARRR. He created that wallet and kind of exchange type of thing, which is really nice, user friendly. That's about all I have to say about ARRR. Let's see. Damn, just a lot. There's a lot of speakers, man. A lot. Dan Held, he's a big name I recognize. If you're speaking here, you're probably doing something in the industry. I feel bad that I'm just kind of blasting through these people, but I'm trying to bring up anything that's really relevant to Pirate Chain and human freedom. Because I guarantee most of these people, they don't give a shit about any of that. JP Sears, there he is, listed on there. Oh, Zion. Okay, founding creator of Zion. Okay. That's the name of it, man. Zion, man. How long is this list? Holy shit. Lynn Albright was there. Oh, Luke was there. Luke Rudowski, founder of We Are Change. He was there. Great to see that. Max Kaiser, the high priest of Bitcoin. Y'all know Max Kaiser is. He's all over the YouTube or ThemeTube space. I can't wait to share my feedback on this. Mike Novogratz, another face of the Bitcoin scene, rich and successful. So just his face is just shielded everywhere. It's so funny how that happens, where these YouTubers do that for like more views and shit. Like, I don't know. I think it's just kind of weird, but let's see. We're pretty much at the end of this list. That was pretty dope. That was pretty tight. I mean, the artists that played too, man, that was crazy. They had Deadmau5, they had San Holo, Steve Aoki, and it was crazy because the day that was going on, they had like speakers and artists, and like they were all in different stages. So it was kind of like, do I want to see this speaker, or do I want to like go watch this artist? It's just like, I don't know. It was like that. that big festival that's about to go down in Vegas with all these like emo bands and shit from the 90s and 2000s. You know, like they've got so many great bands playing in one day. And it's like, how? Like, what's the point? You're only gonna be able to see like maybe 4 or 5 of them because they're all gonna be on different stages. Like, so you know, that's why it's so important, in my opinion, to really be careful who you surround yourself with in the crypto space, because you know, as pirates, if you're not surrounding yourself with people that are objective, rational thinkers, they are forward thinking, they are ethical, moral people, then it's easy to just get distracted by these shiny names and objects and all these rich, successful people, you know, because they will lead you down one direction, which may or may not be the future. It may cost you a lot down the road. And that was something we're going to dig into here, because this was the first event that I've done here. I've done like maybe 7 at this point in the past year. It's been crazy. Ever since my first ARRR polka in 2021, when I met Lutz, it's just been a ride of like doing all these different pirate events, from Freedom Fest to Pork Fest, you name it. And just in Miami, Pirate was all solid with their team. We had Josh and Benny out there running the booth. They just did a fantastic job. The booth looked better than I've seen it yet in terms of props and just merchandise, and you know, just they even had I think it might have been Forge's idea, or no, I think it was Mr. X or someone. They basically suggested that we put like the white papers and all the audits like in these printed out like binders, and so Benny went and did that, and he had all of them laid out on the table for people to come up and read and check out, and that was just an awesome development to see for these events, because every now and then you'll get someone that comes up, some young kid or whoever that really knows their shit about blockchain. You know, we had a few guys just blow us away with what they had to say about Pirate Chain, because they just know the tech. Like, they did their research, they tested, they looked into it, and while they may not like show up here on these weekly calls, they may not show up within our community, they're out there and they're keeping an eye on this. So it's just one of the best ways to get feedback, honestly, and to introduce more developers to the team over time. So this last week, I was actually helping out the Crypto Vigilante, which was a huge opportunity, a huge blessing. I had a total blast with those guys, hanging out with Rafael, hanging out with Alex, my new buddy Leandrew, who's just an exceptionally talented, you know, media anarchist, just artist, all around incredible. And I found that like at a lot of these events we've done, whenever there's TCV and Pirate Chain, we always end up like together. You guys have probably seen this if you've been to the events, but like, you know, they got different booths and the expo halls, and like we're always like put next together. I don't know if that's on purpose or what, but we all have like the same kind of colors with black and gold, and it's just like, it looks so clean, you know. And Pirate is just a huge testament of the power of being a part of a group of, you know, intellectual, forward-thinking crypto entrepreneurs like Rafael, you know, because you know that Pirate was up like 33,000% from the time that they recommended it. So I think it's a great testament, a great combination. We all get along tremendously, make a great team. Yeah. So the first event that we did, the Pirate wasn't there, but TCB was there. It was the first Monerotopia event ever, like, to be in person. So we definitely had some Pirate Chain fans there. I'm going to pull up the site for that. Monerotopia, here we go. And that was just jam-packed. I mean, they had all these great speakers and artists just in one day. It was 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., really long day. TCB, we had the booth set up outside and a couple cameras going, so it was real neat. If you guys tuned in, like, you got a ticket to this, you could watch the speakers live, which we actually hosted that live stream too. So we kind of did it all for that event. And then Rafael and Alex would go on and they would like offer commentary, and they would talk to the guests as they were kind of hanging out in between speakers, which was really cool. And then our goal was just to get as many speakers down to talk to Rafael as possible, all the Monero guys, like all the privacy guys. So just really learned a lot, met a ton of great people. Doug and Sunita were very humble, very kind, hospitable folks. You know, they put together an awesome event, great venue. You could walk in and pay like $100 for these Monero like sunglasses that you can see out of them, but when people look, they can't see your eyes, and they just see the Monero logos, which is really dope. And then if you bought that, you would get like an open bar all day, which was actually kind of dangerous, but I mean, I recommend checking out this list of guys. I mean, all these guys were here, and they were just really confident, really on top of their stuff. Man, I finally got to meet Vic from Cake Wallet. That was awesome, you know, because I found out he lives like 10 minutes from my house. So when I finally met him, I'm like, oh, yeah, man, so now we got to hang out. Seth for Privacy was there. Yeah, just a lot of you know, great movers and shakers here in the whole space. We have Free Knots performing at the end of the night. Mike Salby was there. Riot. Just overall a great time. Some takeaways that I got from that event, from what I could, you know, watch of the speakers, is that Monero is basically at fair price value. I believe that to be true. I think anywhere from 200 to 250 is fair price for Monero. That is if, like I showed you in the charts, if we don't start breaking down and capitulating into a bear market. And then it's definitely not fair price. It's like, holy shit. It's like almost time to sell all that, or whatever you want to sell, or take profits. So that was the first event we did. Super cool. The next day, after I almost burned down the Airbnb house, we fucking end up at this BSV meetup, because Rafael's very pro BSV, and I learned a lot about the arguments behind that, which I'm going to share here in a moment. And that was super cool. I got to perform B11BU right before Free Knots. Dominican Ray was there, another guy. Mike Salvi was also there. He was at the Treehouse Bar and Lounge. And yeah, it was cool to see like the BSV community meet up. And I want to dig into that now, because you know, but basically the main consensus that I got from Raf, you know, and I've read this in, you know, former newsletters and reports, but BSV is probably one of the most, if not the most, delisted coin in the world right now. So why is that? You know, like, to just put aside all the drama with Craig Wright, you know, that kind of, you know, it kind of sent you in one direction or the other. It definitely put a distaste in my mouth for the project. But the more I learn about it, the small block size is just, it's kind of laughable. Like, it's like, how are you supposed to actually build real systems and networks and the projects on something like Bitcoin if it can only process like 10 transactions per second, you know? So BSV, I mean, does have the upper hand in that regard. It's Satoshi's vision, so it's supposed to be based around Satoshi's vision. And the distinction here, like why did Bitcoin come out with these small block sizes? You know, why was that? Why would Satoshi want to do that? And according to Raf, I could be getting some of this info a little mixed up, but I feel pretty good about it, like, because it kind of blew my mind, like, in the way you don't forget, you know. Basically, Satoshi saw what was coming for the future of humanity. They saw where things were going in terms of the tyranny, and where is the tyranny coming from? Like, what is the main proponent of it now? Is it like a small group of weirdos and sociopaths, like at the top, like, we don't know who they are and they plan all the things? I think that's part of it, you know. But who's doing their bidding? What's doing their bidding? It's big tech, right? It's the Facebook, the Amazon, it's the Google, it's all these companies that are just data harvesting the shit out of everything we do every second of the day. Okay, that's the problem, and that's what Satoshi had seen. You know, according to Raf, they saw ahead of that, so they had to kind of get this train rolling with the Bitcoin protocol, but in a way that these tech oligarchs can't just grab it and use it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to. I mean, with the small block size, I just don't see how it could really work for them. in the scale of what they're trying to do, with creating a surveillance state or global worldwide surveillance, state. So, the overall thesis that Raf shared that blew my mind is that BSV, it is Satoshi's vision, minding that he intentionally did not, or they intentionally did not create the bigger block size because they knew that it would evolve over time, just like everything does, and that cypherpunks and the real freedom fighters would know what to do with it. What if that was BSV? So I've got this chart pulled up right here. This is bitinfocharts.com. Okay, and one thing that Rap talks about all the time with bit is the computational aspect of Bitcoin. Coin is the currency, right? It's the use case, but the bit is like what it actually is. And the amount of energy that has to go into powering these proof of work networks is considerable. It's raw energy that is being used for certain things, like BSV. It's actually getting used because it's pushing through the volume of transactions you can see on this chart. I mean, upwards of 13 million transactions, whereas Bitcoin and Bcash don't even get above half of that. Half a million. So you know what I'm saying? So like, maybe BSV is delisted. Maybe it's so hated. Maybe the whole Craig Wright thing and all that got blown up and just manipulated in the news like everything always does and propagandized because this is the actual technology that the big tech oligarchy wants. It's what they need to actually create the surveillance state and usher out their new world order of, these CBDCs. Maybe it is. Okay, so I'm not saying go out and buy BSV right now, but, everyone here should definitely be aware that the fork war that happened in Bitcoin in 2017 was much needed and justified. And as it stands, right, Bitcoin is the Mac Daddy, right? Wow, $40,000 worth of Bitcoin. Oh, wish I got in early. Well, that's great and all, but we're still early because we don't know which protocol is going to win in the end. Will Bitcoin always be digital gold? Probably. Will it always be worth more than any of these other forks of Bitcoin? We don't know. Okay, so BSV to me is looking like something that we need to keep an eye on, and I encourage everyone in the community to have an open mind about that if you really care about human freedom, because there is one strong use case, and I even there were a lot of privacy guys that that were just, even the Monero guys, they were just hating on Bitcoin. Oh, it's surveillance coin, transparent, and I was like, okay, I agree with everything you're saying except one thing, and it's that there is a massive need and use case for a transparent project like Bitcoin, any of these Bitcoins. That transparency is what these companies should be on, like Facebook and Google, right? We need to see their balance sheets. They need to be able to be audited. We need to know how much crypto they have, what they spent it on, when they spent it on. We need to back that up in the blockchain, which is immutable. Okay, so they can't fake it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that is the main use case for Bitcoin. That's why it will probably always be around. Which fork of Bitcoin will be the most used and relevant? Time will tell, but as this chart is telling us, BSV is the most used, but the most irrelevant. Okay, so think about that. All of this affects Pirate Chain. All of this affects the privacy sector and where things are going. So if you want to check out that chart, it's bitinfocharts.com. You can even pull up other coins like Ethereum. That one's probably out of control. Let's see. Ethereum is red. Okay, well, it's way higher in transaction volume than Bitcoin and Bcash. Still doesn't compare to BSV. Check out XMR. XMR here is in green. That has the lowest transaction volume of all those networks, which makes sense. Yeah. So let's move on here. As we come to wrap up the call, we're about 10 minutes out. Overall, I mean, it was very bullish. Like this Bitcoin Miami week, there were just signs everywhere on buses, banners, you name it. Like crypto is here to stay, especially in Miami. I've got this article here basically talking about the mayor, Francis X. Suarez, said cryptocurrencies continue to present big opportunities for the city, and local tourism industry and the real estate market have felt the impact. In a good way, I'm sure. So, this article here goes on to say that Miami is pro-crypto, especially Bitcoin. The mayor is all about it. It shows when you're there. Undoubtedly, Miami is the crypto, or at least Bitcoin capital of the world. I think that's verifiable at this point. Like, for sure. Okay. Yeah, man. Awesome. So, this felt like a good call. I felt like it was very, not too much ums and space between. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in, checking this out. Now's the time. If anybody wants to jump in, you got some thoughts you want to share, you got some questions, go ahead. This is your time. If you're in the Discord, just raise your hand. I will point you to speak. In particular, if anybody was in Miami for any of these events or heard anything, any news about it that came out, please raise your hand. I'd love to hear your experience. If you can relate, if maybe you saw some things that I didn't see. So you can't be everywhere at once. And I certainly was not at Bitcoin 2022. I didn't have too much interest, to be honest. But I would have gone if somebody said, "Yo, man, want a free ticket?" Like, yeah, that's how Pirate does it. He doesn't, Pirate finds his way, no matter what. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and close up the screen share if you guys are on BeFree.tv. Thanks for checking that out. Stop sharing. Turn off the video and audio. Maybe I'll leave those on. All right. There was one thing I wanted to mention too while we're here till 7:30, is that boy did the market sell off going into Bitcoin Miami week. I'm sure you guys felt that. I mean, there was like Pirate Chain about $1.70. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Happened a lot sooner than I thought, but I think I'm going to say that this was more along the lines of buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing. Like, traditionally, a lot of news comes out of these events every year. News that would be bullish for the space. It's almost expected, So what did the market makers and the whales do? They basically pumped up the price leading into it because people were getting bullish. Oh, it's about to be Bitcoin Miami week, and then they just dropped the thing down, like pulled the bag, sold all that shit, sold it off right into the event. So I don't know. I kind of like that because it creates more of a humble, like everyone attending these events. Maybe they're like, all right, I didn't just get rich from this event, more rich over this weekend. Maybe I gotta, sit down, shut up, and learn some shit. Meet some people and figure out what's going on. So maybe that was a good thing on the psychological level, but I saw that clear as day. I was expecting the market to pump over the weekend, and it pumped beforehand and dumped during the weekend. So, this stuff is so typical with the markets. While I'm waiting for anyone to raise their hand, I could share a little more of my experience hanging with the TCV crew. Me and Raph kind of got into a discussion here, a real discussion, which, wasn't easy, I guess, but was amazing. And the most helpful conversations and discussions are usually when it's not an echo chamber, when there's differing perspectives. So, I was showing him my charts that I just showed you guys and, saying, yeah, man, I got the best charts in the game because I like to brag about it. We're talking about his guys, Mr. Excuse me, Mr. X, Mr. C, all those guys, and how awesome they are and kind of their bias with the markets. And he was just encouraging me to not be a gambler. He kept saying, dude, what you're doing is gambling, man, it's gambling. I'm like, well, I guess. I mean, I see how it can be, but if you guys follow my analysis, I'm just the underdog. That's my approach, okay? I'm not this guy with like bajillions of Bitcoin that got in like 2009. That was like friends with all the cypherpunks. Like I came into the space in 2017, and I've been on it ever since. So I, as well as I think most people entering the space, are just getting into it, and they might not have the capital to take a huge position, and they especially don't know the time to deploy that capital. So my whole purpose of these weekly updates is to help you make an educated decision, to provide you the tools, tactics to take your investing into your own hands, to not be a gambler. Okay, like if you're looking to really get position in the market, you want to buy low and sell high. So you then need to understand market cycles. You got to know, are we in a bull market or a bear market? And if we are, what are the targets? Like, how much higher can we go before I sell, and how much lower could we go before I really take a big position? So that is the underdog analysis that I'm giving here. I'm trying to help you guys buy at the right time and sell at the right time. When those times come, I can't imagine I'm going to be like exact and hold everyone's hand, because that's not my responsibility. That's risky. I don't want to be responsible. I'm not a financial advisor, legally or whatever. So that's my disclaimer. I'm just someone that is really passionate about watching the charts. I feel like it's watching human consciousness evolve. Tapping into the fear, the greed, the psychology of humanity. I also feel responsible because I'm not just riding. Like to me, like not selling at the top of a bull market, it doesn't have to be the exact top, but if you don't take profits and you ride that down 80-90% to a bear market, to me that's irresponsible. Don't be that guy or girl. You're going to regret that. I guarantee it. And there's people that have rode Pirate Chain down from $17 and they're still waiting for it to even get to that point. And when it does, what are you going to do? Are you going to sell it just to break even, just to get out of that, upside down trade that you've been in for over a year? I mean, there's a lot of emotions and like planning that has to go into this. If you're really serious about being the future money of humanity, the future money of humanity is going to be all of us. It's going to be the early adopters of blockchain. For lack of better words, it's going to be the nerds. It could be the rockers. Either whatever, but it's the nerds are going to get their time in the sun, right? And they deserve it, because they're the ones that their minds are made for this, right? It's made to build the blockchain. It's made to test these things and ride them out, even though it's not the coolest thing, even though it doesn't get all the girls. Like, they're making the sacrifices, putting the time in. Even the guys at Monero, like all those guys, like their time is going to come where eventually, when privacy becomes the next big trend within this asset class, probably by the next bull market cycle, they're going to be pretty powerful people. And I hope it doesn't get to their heads, but like, to me, that is the future leaders of the world. They're going to be the ones that have the most crypto. I mean, let's just be real. So like, if you want to be one of those people, if you're a good person, you've got a lot to offer the world, right? You want to make a difference, then you need to figure out markets and be an expert. Just keep getting your powder ready and deploy the capital at the right time. Okay, understand if we're in a bear market or a bull market, and what are those targets. I'm going to help you guys with that. We're here every Wednesday, except the first Wednesday of the month, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, here on Discord, and screen share and everything on BeFree.tv. Doesn't look like we have any speakers for today, so we're here at the top of the hour. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. This is Matt Welsh, Be Love and Be You. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week with a special guest. Cheers. ARRR.